shit. We'll start over. Fuck. Why? Hi everybody, it's Liz. Today I am making a video about my top 9 favorite contemporary novels, just in case you're in a contemporary mood and want to find something to read. So,
it's me editing, and I'm here to say that I accidentally deleted the unnecessarily long clip where Lizzie was explaining what book this was, and I'm kind of too lazy to re-put it back in because that would take a lot of effort. So basically she's talking about Room by Emma Donoghue.
This story is about this little boy named Jack and his ma. The first half of the story takes place in a room where he and his mother are kept by his mother's captor. Jack doesn't know that anything is outside of the room. So the story essentially is about him learning of the outside world and him and his mother coming to terms with what's happened to them, and also them returning to society and deal with these huge traumatic things that have happened to her, and Jack learning how to be a 5-year-old boy where he never had to before. This book was turned into a movie, I want to say 3 years ago. So the number 8 book on my list is Exit, Pursued by a Bear by E.K. Johnson. So this is actually a Canadian novel. I find that I don't actually read that much Canadian stuff, which I should, being Canadian. But I got this one not that long ago. I want to say about a month ago. I just was at Chapters and picked it up on a whim, and I read it all in a few hours. I just got home and just sat down and read through the whole thing. It's a really good book. It follows Hermione, who is a cheerleader. Her and her team go to cheer camp. Close to the end of cheer camp, she gets assaulted, and then the main part of the novel is about her learning how to deal with this traumatic thing that's happened to her. So for people who have assault scenes as a trigger, this doesn't actually have any graphic scenes. This book in particular caught a lot of flack because of how supportive everybody was to her, and people saying that that's not really realistic to what happens to survivors, which is true, but the way I see it, it is a optimistic outlook. It's what every survivor wished that they had after an attack that doesn't always happen. It's good. The tagline on the back is "She won't be anyone's cautionary tale." You watch her learn how to deal with what's... It's essentially just her trying to get back to a new normal, go on with the rest of her life. What I liked the most about this book is that it is about this awful thing that happens to her, but it's not the main focus of the book. Like, she still deals with her PTSD, she goes to dances, she still does her cheerleading, still has friends to surround her. A lot of novels about assaults don't really show anything else other than the coping, if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but Exit, Pursued by a Bear, good book. I'm having a rough go today, Allie. So the book that I put in the number 7 spot is You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone by Rachel Lynn Solomon. So this book follows Adina and Tova, who are 2 twins. They are very, very different in what they want in life. Adina is a viola prodigy, and she wants to be a soloist. And then Tova wants to be a surgeon and is trying to get into Johns Hopkins. The book kind of throws us for a whirl when they have to get tested for Huntington's disease, and it turns out that one of them tests positive. So it follows them as they deal with the aftermath of that. So the guilt, the grief of knowing that this person that they've had their entire life a twin that they were born with will one day not be with them anymore, and they're gonna die, and they're gonna have this horrible, horrible disease. It also has other things in here. There's romance. It's not a huge theme point, but it just shows their lives as they figure it out, essentially. I read this book, I want to say 2 months ago, and I sobbed. It is such a beautiful novel about sisterly love and the kind of strife that happens to families when they get this awful news that is going to change their lives forever. This one, for sure, worth the read. Alright, so number 6, I have Just Listen by Sarah Dessen. This book is about a girl named Annabelle Green. She was a model. She comes from a really good family. They're all seemingly perfect on the outside. Something happens and Annabelle just kind of stops talking to her friends. She stops modeling. It becomes introverted. Then she goes and starts the next year of school, and she meets a boy named Adam, and he loves music. He says it like it is. He's a kind of a no bullshit kind of person, which is what she needs. With his help, she kind of comes to terms that her family really isn't as perfect as it seems on the outside. It's a truly beautiful novel, and Sarah Dessen is really a contemporary queen. Honestly, I could make a full list of just Sarah Dessen novels to read, and I would be able to talk forever and ever. There's so many layers to it than what it looks like. Oh, it's Owen, not Adam. I'm a fucking idiot. It's been a long time since I read this book. Why did I think it was Adam? Okay, so we're in our top 5 now. Okay, for number 5, I chose The Pact by Jodi Picoult. I have no idea how to say her last name. So this book is about a boy and a girl named Emily and Chris, and the story starts off with us finding out that somebody was shot. The story is mostly told from the parents' perspective, with a little bit of Chris and a little bit of Emily. It follows their relationship through their whole entire lives. It jumps back from the future to the past, just so you can find out what happened to Maid. It jumps between the future and the past, giving you insight into what caused the two to make this suicide pact. And then when Chris survives, there's a little bit of courtroom kind of mystery aspects to it. There's a lot of layers in this novel. It was turned into a Lifetime movie as well. I love a good Lifetime movie. They're almost as good as the W Channel Christmas films. So for my 5th book, I lied. For my 4th book, I have To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. So this book is about Lara Jean, who is full of a lot of love, but is not very outspoken about it. She's never been in a relationship. She doesn't really want a relationship, but she writes love letters to these boys that she loves and puts them in a hat box in her closet, and they get out. So she is a very shy and guarded person who doesn't really want to do much other than bake and read romance novels. I think we can all relate to that. This was turned into a Netflix film, but they actually cut out a lot of the book and they changed some of the characters so they're a little different than they are in the book. So the book's really worth the read. It's the first book in a trilogy, and they're very cute, quick reads. They're not too long. This one's under 400, but it's very adorable and it's a kind of read that will make you smile. You know, it's wholesome, I should say. It's a wholesome novel. It's very, very cute. For number 3, I have Looking for Alaska by John Green. So this book follows Miles as he starts at a boarding school. Miles is kind of strange. He doesn't have many friends. He kind of keeps to himself at his old school, and he is obsessed with famous last words. So that's like a big part throughout this. Like most John Green novels, the main character is always a little bit odd, but I think this is probably one of my favorite John Green novels out of all of them. He really outdid himself with this one. And I think this is part of the banned books as well. So that's always funny when people, I think actually this one's part of the banned books as well. So if you like reading banned books, these both are banned. Anyway, book follows Miles as he goes to boarding school and meets this new group of friends. So he immediately feels a connection with this girl named Alaska. Looking for Alaska from the title. She loves to read. She's kind of an enigma to him. So he kind of obsesses about her. So this book is it's sad. This book made me cry a lot, but it's also very happy. If that makes any sense. There's lots of parts that'll make you smile. There's lots of parts that'll make you frown. There's a lot of mysterious circumstances in this book. The narrator, Miles, he doesn't know a lot. So most of the time he's kind of just blissfully unaware of everything going on around him, which is kind of interesting when you read it for the second time with the information. You get a better understanding about what's happening. Apparently this is being turned into a Hulu series, but I haven't seen anything else about it. Again, it's a very short read. There's not that many. There's 220 pages in here, so again, not very long. I think I read this in high school, and I really liked it then. I haven't read it in a while, but it is on my TBR to read again for a reread. I just kind of have to get through a bunch of other stuff before I can reread it, because I did really, really like this book, being it's in my top 3. For my second last book, I have Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I might have butchered the name. I apologize. This story follows Charlie as he enters his final year of high school. So Charlie's a little odd. Something's off about him. You don't really know because the story is written in letters. Charlie writes these letters and they're addressed to dear friend. They're just a friend. So every bit of information that you get is information that Charlie wants you to have. So you know things are off. There's information that you're lacking. So you go through the novel and you get bits and pieces and bits and pieces and bits and pieces until you finally kind of have an understanding of what happened, but you don't truly know ever. This this has pretty heavy subject matter in it. There's sexual assault, there's depression, there's suicide, there's domestic abuse, there's self-harm, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a while since I've read it, but it's one of my favorite novels that I've ever read in my entire life. This is actually my second copy. My first copy of it is somewhere in Australia for some reason. It is gone and I will never see it. But I read this book when I was in high school and struggling with my mental health, and it really brought to light just that I wasn't alone, that it was kind of something that everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people went through. This is a truly beautiful story. I recommend it to anybody who hasn't read it. Honestly, it's not a very long read, and it's really, really worth it. It only has 200 and something, 213 pages. So it's not a very big read, and it's a good book. I don't know how to express how good of a book it is, but it is a good book. A lot of people hype it, so I think that it doesn't, people kind of overlook it because they think it's overhyped, but honestly, it's so good. Believe the hype. It's hyped for a reason. There's a movie that has Logan Lerman and Ezra Miller and Emma Watson and I don't remember her name. The girl that was in The Duff, she's in it. Watch it, read it, do whatever, consume it. It's great. It's a great story. A great story. Read it. Watch it. Do it. Last but not least, my top pick for contemporary novels is Boy Meets Boy by David Levithan. I don't know how to say his last name. Who knows? Most people probably. I can't pronounce anything. Anyway, the guy who wrote Every Day, Every Day. This is a lovely novel. I have the 10th anniversary edition. So this book came out in 2003, I want to say. I could probably tell you. Yep, 2003. So this is a boy and boy romance. I was gonna say romance novel. It's not a romance novel, but romance. It follows Paul, who is an openly gay man, just in his life. He meets a man named Noah. I wouldn't say man. He meets another boy named Noah, and he thinks that maybe he's gonna fall in love with him. So it kind of explores their relationship. I read this book with my best friend at the time, Hannah, and it was one of the first books I'd ever read with a gay character, or an openly gay character, let alone two gay characters as main protagonists, which was truly beautiful. This book has a lot of sentimental value to me. I really think that everybody should read it. It teaches you about acceptance and love, and it's a great book, honestly. And also, like, look at the cover. That's adorable. That's an adorable cover. And also, he's just a great novelist. So if you don't want to read this book, read one of his other books. But also, you should read this book, because it's good. Boy Meets Boy. Good book. Great book. Read it. Yeah. So that was my top 9 contemporary novels. It would have been 10, but the one that I wanted to do for my 10th is actually at my sister's house, and I didn't want to go back and get it, so we did 9. Like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them below or message me and let me know. If you have any suggestions for videos or any questions, anything, feel free to ask me. Would love to answer them. If you'd like, I have a Instagram, bookstagram if you will. It's Liz_booknook. Follow and you'll see what I'm reading, all that fun stuff. Yeah, so have a good one. Bye. Okay. Allie, I'm having a rough time.